All right, so real quick about me. I grew up in Steilacoom, Washington. I had a pretty unique upbringing. I grew up as the only African American in my whole family. So my dad and my mom got together in LA in the middle of Watts in the early 70s. It was a little bit tumultuous, LA. So my mom dropped me off with my grandparents when I was 6 months old, okay? My grandfather is Jewish. My grandmother is from Finland. And next thing I know, 5 years old, my mom showed back up. Okay, so she was gone for the first 5 years of my life. Okay, I didn't know. I was just a kid growing up. So I told you my name is Jake, right? Just J-A-K-E. My name used to be Jomo Kenyatta Coleman. Okay, but my Jewish grandfather laughed at my name, and so when I was 6 months old, he changed it to Jake. Okay, and I grew up, and the first time I knew I had a different name, I was 9 years old going to a wrestling tournament. And my mom gave me a birth certificate, didn't have my name on it, okay? So I had a little bit of different upbringing. My stepfather that ended up raising me was a survivalist. So I grew up trapping raccoons. I grew up in the woods. I grew up 2 blocks off the Puget Sound in Tacoma in a boat. So like I got a different upbringing than most African Americans, okay? Let me say this, not most, because my wife's family is country as all get out from Ahoskie, North Carolina, and they basically grew up the same way. Hunting, fishing, driving motorcycles all day, okay? So just a different way. I was very fortunate. I grew up in Steilacoom. We had some very successful people in my community, a bunch of West Point graduates, and it was a super mix of kids in my school. So 70% of my high school is minorities, but it's all sorts of minorities, Asians, Hispanics, blacks. Everybody that's black is mixed because of the Army base, German, Japanese, Korean, everybody's mixed, okay? So we grew up in this melting pot, but in Washington State, no one cares what you're doing as long as you win. And it's a unique kind of upbringing because in the 6th grade, I got really good in math and science. And I went to the University of Washington and won the University of Washington Science Fair in the 7th grade, okay? In the 8th grade, all of my friends, so I got the same 10 friends from 1st grade. Out of the 10 of us, remember the dude I told you living at home? That's one of them. I don't talk to him very much, okay? But there's 8 of us that won state championships in high school, okay? 4 won basketball, 2 won doubles in tennis, okay? I won a state title in wrestling, okay? And then we got, what's the other one? Oh, swimming, okay? So think about that. Out of my 10 friends, 8 of us won state championships in high school. Okay, pretty powerful group, right? Right now, Tony Harris is running, he's a regional, corporate regional security manager for FedEx. Okay, he's married to Lottie, who's a partner in a law firm, Hector and Steele. She represents Don King. Anybody know who Don King is? Okay, Don King is her client, crazy boxing promoter from about 20 years ago. Okay, but that's who I talk to on a daily basis. Bernard Dean is running the state Senate building in the state of Washington. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? Who you associate with is where you're gonna go. Okay, so I grew up in this little town, had a ton of freedom. We used to leave the house at 7 o'clock and come back at 5 for dinner. Be all over the city. I'd be on the Army Ranger, I'd be in a Ranger base, you know, be in Army Rangers all day. We'd be in the swamp, we'd be in a boat in front of my house fishing. Like we were everywhere, okay? So I got into, so the 8th grade I won a science fair again, and I beat all of the high school people, okay? So I got a full college scholarship to the University of Washington for engineering in the 8th grade. Okay, fast forward to 9th grade. I get to 9th grade, kind of like you guys are. I hadn't lost a wrestling match in 2 years in middle school. I was starting on the football team. I got to high school and it was a rude awakening. It was a whole different animal, okay? You gotta find yourself. You know, I was 4'11", 140 pounds, little fat kid running around. I got killed in wrestling, okay? Killed. And so I had to start doing a whole lot of stuff different. I had to run every day. So all but about 5 days of high school, I ran 3 miles at a minimum, okay? Because I didn't like losing, all right? I won the science fair again. I got into the Naval Academy as a freshman in high school. I got into West Point as a sophomore, okay? So all of this stuff rolling along. Then I took a scholarship to basically the #2 high school in the country, and I went to a whole different environment, okay? We probably had 4 or 5 billionaires at my high school. We had Jason Conley dad sold his business for like $860 million. Okay. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a government clerk. Okay. I tell the story. This is how different the high school was I went to that I came from. I stepped on a mustard packet in the cafeteria and it squirted some mustard out onto a girl's pants named Megan. Right? And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She jumped up. She's like, "You ruined my pants." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to. You got to buy me a new pair of pants." How much you think those pants cost? Okay, not far off. $750. Right? I stepped back and I looked and I was like, "Megan, my car cost $700. Okay? There's no chance I'm buying you some pants." Right? But that was a different environment I went into. Okay, my first year there, no one talked to me. I sat on the bench the whole year. No one spoke to me. Think about that. But here's what I was doing. I was collecting a world-class education to prepare myself to go to the Naval Academy. Okay? Sometimes you got to do stuff you don't necessarily want to do. I didn't want to be there. Okay, I didn't necessarily, I hated going to school there, but I knew this, I was getting a world-class education in calculus, chemistry, physics. Okay? So boom, I do 2 years there. I end up winning a state title in wrestling. We take second in the state in football. I missed state by a stroke in golf. Okay? And I went to the Naval Academy. Naval Academy was exactly like my high school that I went to. It sucked. Right? It's not a fun place to go to school. It's hard. All right? But I knew this, if I stayed in the Naval Academy, I'd be successful. Okay? So I went to the Naval Academy. Then I went to the Navy. I spent 2 years driving ships. I spent 4 years as a Navy SEAL. And then that was kind of like high school and the Naval Academy. So I got out, I went to Michigan and got my MBA in finance. Okay? So I got my MBA in finance. I went to work in corporate America. It was cool, but it sucked every day because all you're doing is listening to people talk and you're trying to get people's money. Consulting I didn't like it. So I went and started coaching. Okay? And I haven't been happier since. Okay? 2006, I got married. I got 3 boys. I got a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. My 7-year-old is named after one of my wrestling partners from the Naval Academy who got killed in Iraq in 2007. Okay? So I'm raising kids right now. That's my sole purpose in life. Okay? I'm going to raise kids. I'm going to raise 3 beasts in life. I'm going to win national championship as a head coach. I'm going to be a U.S. Senator. That's it. Okay?